The psychology of someone who is low-key jealous of you. Have you ever felt it? That strange cold shift in the room the moment something good happens to you? Someone close to you, maybe a friend, a coworker, even a family member, hears your good news. And instead of joy, there's this almost invisible pause. A half smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes. A comment that sounds like a compliment but leaves you feeling smaller than before you shared anything. That right there is the psychology of someone who is low-key jealous of you. And most people never recognize it until the damage is already done. Let me put you somewhere specific. Imagine you just got the promotion you worked 2 years for. You call your closest friend. They say, "Oh wow, that's great," and then immediately pivot. "I actually heard they were going to restructure that whole department anyway." No congratulations, no warmth, just a quiet, invisible needle in a balloon you hadn't even finished inflating yet. You hang up and you feel confused, not angry. Confused, because nothing they said was technically wrong, nothing was overtly cruel, but something you can't yet name just happened to you. That something has a name. Psychologists call it low-key envy, and it is one of the most misread, most mishandled emotional dynamics in human relationships. It hides behind smiles. It travels inside jokes. It wears the costume of concern. And if you've ever walked away from a conversation with someone you trust feeling subtly deflated, this is a conversation you need to stay for. Because what comes next might explain years of confusion in just a few minutes. I want to pause here and be honest with you. I'm not here to hand you a list of enemies to cut off. I'm not going to tell you to trust no one or to walk through life with your guard permanently raised. That would be its own kind of damage. What I want to do is sit with you for a moment, the way a quiet friend might, and just name what many of us have felt but struggled to articulate. Low-key jealousy doesn't always come from people who don't love you. That's the part that makes it so complicated. Sometimes it comes from people who genuinely do. People who grew up believing that life is a finite pie. That if your slice gets bigger, theirs gets smaller. They never chose to feel that way. They were taught it, quietly, by years of comparison and competition, and the particular loneliness of watching others succeed while feeling stuck. And so when you win, when something beautiful enters your life, a reflex fires inside them before their love even has a chance to respond. That reflex is fear dressed up as critique. It's insecurity wrapped in sarcasm. It's not malice most of the time, but it can still hurt you, and it can still quietly erode the foundation of a relationship you thought was solid. The reason this matters is not so you can judge them. The reason this matters is so you can stop blaming yourself. Because when someone responds to your joy with indifference or subtle dismissal, there is a part of you that internalizes it, a part that starts to wonder, should I have shared this? Was I too much? Am I wrong to feel good? You're not. And what science says about this next, it changed how I see everything. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called benign versus malicious envy, first formally described by researcher Niels van de Ven and his colleagues at Tilburg University. The distinction is important. Benign envy motivates. It makes a person want to become what they admire. Malicious envy wants to diminish what they can't have. Most low-key jealousy sits in that second camp, but because it's low-key, because it never announces itself, it operates through behavioral subtleties instead of open aggression. What does that look like in practice? It looks like the friend who reliably shows up to support you during your failures, but becomes mysteriously unavailable, vague, distracted, suddenly busy. Every time things go well for you. It looks like the colleague who praises your idea in a meeting, but spends the following week quietly planting seeds of doubt about it with others. It looks like the person who says, "I'm so proud of you," and then spends the next 30 minutes talking about everything going wrong in their own life, redirecting the emotional current of the room back to themselves. I remember, and I share this because I think many of you will recognize this texture, A period in my own life when I achieved something I had worked toward for years. I expected celebration. What I got from one particular person I was close to was a slow-moving campaign of minimization. Every time I mentioned something positive, there was a counterweight, a caveat. But have you considered that always seemed designed to introduce doubt exactly when I was beginning to feel solid? What the research tells us is that this behavior is often unconscious. A study published in the journal Emotion found that people experiencing envy frequently are not aware that envy is what they are feeling. They experience it instead as irritability, resentment, or a vague sense that something about the other person is off, somehow undeserved, somehow suspicious. That is the cruelty of low-key jealousy. It doesn't know its own name, and because it doesn't, it never apologizes. It just keeps shaping the relationship from the inside, like water slowly reshaping stone. Stay with me, because the most important part of this is what you do with the recognition. Here's where I want to go somewhere. Most conversations about this topic never go, because it's easy, almost too easy, to turn this into a story about villains. To say, these people are toxic, cut them out, protect yourself. And sometimes, yes, distance is necessary and wise and kind to yourself. But before you reach that conclusion, I want to invite you to look at the interior life of a person who experiences envy. Because it is one of the loneliest, most silent forms of suffering that exists. To be quietly jealous of someone you love is to live in a kind of psychological split. One part of you genuinely cares for them. Another part of you flinches every time they shine, and then hates itself for flinching. There is no peace in that place. There is just the exhausting effort of managing two contradictory feelings simultaneously, and the shame that accumulates from not being able to simply be happy for the person standing right in front of you. Research in the psychology of envy consistently shows that people who experience chronic envy report lower self-esteem, higher rates of depression, and a persistent gnawing sense of being behind, of being fundamentally less than. They are not comfortable people. They are often in pain. That doesn't mean you owe them your peace, but it does mean that what feels like an attack on you is frequently, at its root, a private collapse happening inside of them. Recognizing this changes how you carry it. Instead of spending energy wondering what you did wrong or whether you should have hidden your joy, you begin to understand the dynamic for what it actually is, a reflection of their inner world, not a verdict on your worth. The quiet relief of that recognition, of finally naming what had been nameless, is something I have watched transform people. And now we arrive at the question that matters most. Once you see it clearly, once you know, what do you actually do? The answer, I think, might surprise you. And it's something we'll explore fully in the next part of this conversation. If something in this resonated with you, if you found yourself nodding quietly at a memory or finally feeling understood in a confusion you've carried for a long time, would you do something for me? Share this with someone who might need it, not as a pointed message, not as a hint aimed at anyone, just as a gentle offering to someone in your life who might be navigating the same quiet ache of not being able to name what's happening around them. And if this kind of honest, unhurried conversation feels like something you want more of, the kind that doesn't rush you, doesn't lecture you, just walks beside you, then I'd be so grateful if you stayed. Hit follow. Leave a thought in the comments. This space exists because of you, and it grows because of you. Thank you for being here.